Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Warren Nelson, owner and director of Online Real Estate School Inc., and owner and guest speaker of my own podcast, Real Estate Saved My Lifestyle. And I'm also the proud sponsor of this free live streaming real estate class. This is the quickest hour in real estate, and I want to welcome everyone from being here tonight. This class is about becoming a licensed real estate professional. What a blessing it is to be licensed by the state to earn income. First, let's talk about who needs to be licensed and who does not need to be licensed. If you want to buy your own home or rent one, you do not need a license to buy or rent your own home. If you want to sell your own home, you do not need a license to sell your own home. But to help others to buy or sell their home, you need a real estate license. In the process of helping others to buy or sell their own home, you may charge for your services only if you have a real estate license. You may not legally charge a fee to help or represent others in real estate matters until you have a license by the state saying that you are qualified to help and represent others. Once you have a real estate license, then you may begin the process of running your own real estate business. That real estate license is your golden ticket. This golden ticket is your passport to a different lifestyle. Now, you may be asking at this point, which is it? Is it a golden ticket or is it a passport? Well, it's neither actually. It's a real estate license. But this real estate license opens up so many opportunities for you that it becomes symbolic. You see, with the job, there are only so many opportunities for advancement, and you have very little control over those decisions. Plus, you will always be someone else's moneymaker. But a real estate license gives you so many more opportunities to much more control over your life and also your future opportunities. The income potential is also far better than a job. So, this class in my school allows you the opportunity to do better for you. But what's really sensational about advancing yourself to the level of licensed professional is it allows you to help others as well in many ways. Helping someone buy their first home, helping someone to sell their home, running a business where you help others earn income, managing property for others, helping your family with a better or extra income, not to mention the pride that goes with helping others and the status and the respect that goes with being known as a licensed real estate professional. Now, I spoke with a real estate broker earlier this week and who's trying to help primarily women and minority women succeed in the business. See how that license has enabled her to help others. And so there are many ways that not only can you help yourself with a real estate license, but you can go on to pay it forward and help others. These are just a few examples of trying to help others. So there will be many ways that you will be able to help others as well as yourself. However, it all starts with getting a real estate license. Now, if you're looking for a part time gig to make extra money, may I suggest trying your hand in real estate? If you're looking to make a change in your life and pursue another job or career opportunity, may I suggest getting into real estate? If you're looking to start your own company or business, may I recommend pursuing a real estate business? If you're retired but would like a hobby that allows you to meet and greet while also producing some extra income, may I once again suggest using your social skills in real estate? If you're looking for professional status and respect, then I certainly would suggest you consider real estate. If you're looking for a way to pay it forward then real estate could be an avenue for you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where I am at now in my stage in my career and in my life. 30 years in the business, and boy, do I have some stories to share. Real estate has been very good to me, and it has always provided me with an opportunity to pay it forward. One of the great pleasures I have in this disjunction in life is the ability to teach others real estate and many other things and watch them start their journey in real estate. I always appreciate the opportunity to share this journey with my students at the beginning and to see where they advance in the future. I'm also very proud of the confidence I see in my students when they graduate my class, and I really love the fact that they now have a direction in life that they want to pursue. And this is what gives me the greatest rewards. And so you're going to hear from my students right now. I don't want you to take my word from it. Hear from some of my students themselves.
Well, this school was the only school with 5-star reviews. I did a lot of research.
The information that you give us is just like amazing.
I think like most of everybody in the class, it was the reviews for me.
After reading your reviews and just trusting my friend, he said, you're 100% the way to go, and I do not regret it at all whatsoever.
Your school is amazing.
When I came to you, it was within my expectations.
And the broker knows, like, okay, this person, wherever they're going to school at, they know what they're doing.
Once I talked to you and spoke to you, I was just like, okay, I think this is the right school.
Personally, I have a very good friend that's actually in the real estate business already a broker. He actually recommended you to be a teacher.
Like served as a mentor, just as many others have said. So it's been a pleasure. It really has.
You care about all your students.
He's more than a teacher. He's a mentor. He's someone you look up to.
And you're a great teacher, to be honest with you. You slow down when people have a question. You review things as many times as we need you to.
But you take your time. You actually read to us to get to know and understand this. And I am so ready. I thank you, and I would take this class over and over and over and over and over.
One of the best teachers ever.
This would be really good for me. And then I think what really pulled me in was once I talked to you on the phone.
I did see the 5-star review. I did look around a little bit.
I mentioned you, and your school is like really, a lot of people knows about your school.
And I was a little bit skeptical because 5-star reviews, no business, no nothing has 5-star reviews. But it worked out amazing, and I'm happy I chose this school.
But the information that you give, that you give more than a lot of teachers out there give.
Oh, absolutely. I think the school actually really went beyond my expectations.
I cannot thank you enough for the experience and just preparation to run my own business.
It's like more information that you give us, the more knowledge, I just lock that into my brain, and I know I'm just going to get out there and achieve a lot of things.
Working with you has been a pleasure. It really has. You like served as a mentor.
And I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is looking into any kind of real estate at all.
It always gives me great pleasure to hear from my students, hear when my students pass their exam, and hear when my students go on to start their real estate careers. I want you to see and read my reviews. Then I want you to start planning your future. Many of us suffer from procrastinations and we become very good at making excuses as to why we keep delaying any form of progress that would make life less of a struggle. Success always starts with that first step. A baby who just begins to learn to advance from crawling to walking will fall down many times, and sometimes that infant will even cry, but the child does not make excuses and continues to try to walk no matter how many times they fall. But as we get older, we believe that we understand failure better, and we tell ourselves we're not children anymore. But do you see how we logically prevent ourselves from walking and falling? It's okay to struggle. It's okay to say it's not easy. It's okay. It's so great to achieve the things that you originally believe you were unattainable, that were unattainable for you. It's always a struggle. We don't want to work out. We don't want to exercise. We don't want to take a class. We don't want to test. It's always a struggle. But after we achieve what we did not think we were going to achieve, it's a great momentum for us. We always have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. It's so easy to be lazy. It's so easy to procrastinate. It's so easy to make excuses. It's so easy to live with regret. It's just that none of these easies are rewarding. So, let me show you what you can learn if you decide to stop crawling around and learn how to walk, especially here in real estate. Let's talk about some of the things that you're actually going to learn. First of all, understand, ladies and gentlemen, in the state of Pennsylvania, you are required to take a 75-hour state mandated class of real estate practice and fundamentals. So that's a very good platform, a very good starting point if you want to get into real estate. By understanding what the state requires of an individual, so that that individual has the knowledge and the confidence to help and represent others in real estate matters. Because there's going to be a lot of things that you need to know: federal law, state law, local law. So taking this class gives you a good platform, a good foundation to get into real estate. So this is a state mandated class, not a get rich investment class, not a guru school. And that's another thing, we can call ourselves a school because we are licensed by the state. So if you check my license with the Bureau of Professional Occupational Affairs, you will see that I am licensed by the state to offer this course to you so that you have the foundation and the knowledge that you need to proceed and learn real estate. This is the proper way. So let me give you an example. The difference between a mortgage and a deed. Here's one of the questions I always ask some of my students. If you buy a property today and you get a 30-year mortgage on that property, do you own that property day one, or do you own that property 30 years later when you make your final payment? In the state of Pennsylvania, which we are known as a lien theory state, the bank only has a lien against the property, then the answer to my question is day one. You own that property day one. I don't want you to get the deed and the mortgage confused. They're two separate instruments. And a lot of folks don't understand the difference between their mortgage and their deed. And they think the bank owns the property. The bank does not own the property. So when you buy the property, Warren Nelson buys my property 123 Main Street. Today I'm at the settlement table and I received the deed. The deed is in my name, Warren Nelson. The bank's name is not on the deed. I simply have a loan to buy the property, a mortgage. And if I don't pay my mortgage, the property can use my property as collateral for security on that loan. So it gives the bank a little security, a lot of security, that you're going to make your payments because you don't want to lose your property. But understand, the bank doesn't own the property. You own your property. The deed will be in your name. You own the property, and you simply have a loan, a side thing, a loan, a mortgage to make your payments every month for the purchase of this property that's now in your name. So in Pennsylvania, when you buy a property, you become the owner of that property day one. So what, you have a 30-year mortgage. The bank's name's not on that deed. But I did say that Pennsylvania is a lien theory state. Some states are also known as title theory states. And in the title theory state, like let's say Texas, for instance, you won't own the property until 30 years later when you make that final payment. So a lien theory state compared to a title theory state. All right. So I apologize. It looked like my computer did something wacky. Vernon, are we still live? We're still going? Okay, very, very good. See, that's the great thing about having a producer, always having a backup to make sure that everything is working fine. So even though my computer seems like it's not working fine, everything's good. So thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is no I in team. All right, it's always good to have a team. So, mortgage and deed. That's the first thing that I'll teach you in my class, that if you buy a property day one in the state of Pennsylvania, you own that property. Don't get the mortgage and the deed mixed up. But what we also hear in the real estate business is deed and title. What's the difference between the deed and the title? Well, we sell vehicles by title, but we sell property by deed. And when we transfer, remember I said Warren Nelson bought this property and at the settlement table, I received the deed? Well, the deed is the written instrument that transfers ownership. And what we call this in the real estate business is delivery and acceptance. When the seller delivers the deed to the buyer at the settlement table at closing, that delivery of the deed becomes the moment that the property transfers hands from the seller to the buyer. It's at that moment, delivery and acceptance, that the seller delivers the deed to the buyer and the buyer accepts the deed. It's when the buyer accepts the deed and the seller delivers it, it's at that moment in time that ownership of the property transfers hands. So it is the deed that transfers the property, but title is a process of making sure the deed is good. It will always start with a title search to make sure there's no liens or judgments against the property. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So it starts with a title search. Then after the title search, we're going to have what's called an abstract of title, which is a summary report of what was discovered in the search of the public records and maybe not so public records. Then what we're going to hope to lead to is a title commitment, which means the title company believes everything in that title that they discovered is clear. And then what we're going to get is title insurance. You're going to see that the bank has to have many layers of insurance before the bank will give us that loan, that mortgage at the top, at the table. One of the first things is homeowners insurance. One of the second things is title insurance. So as you can see, title is a process of making sure the deed is good. Title search, abstract title, title commitment, title insurance, all to make sure there's no liens and judgments against the property, and that the chain of title, all the owners, is clear, and that the person selling the property is actually the legal owner of the property. No forgeries or fake documents have taken place. And so at that settlement table, when the deed transfers hands, it is the deed that is the instrument that transfers ownership. Title was a process of making sure the deed was good. So there's a lesson right there, ladies and gentlemen. We just learned the difference between mortgage and deed, and now we're learning the difference between deed and title. We also talked about lien theory and title theory. In a lien theory state like Pennsylvania, the bank only has a lien against the property. Their name's not on the deed. In a title theory state, a third party. In Pennsylvania, it's the borrower and the lender. The borrower and the lender, two parties. All right, but in a title theory state, there's the borrower, the lender, and an escrow company, a third party that will hold the deed for both parties. If you make all your payments, the escrow company will release the deed to the buyer at the end of the last payment. If you miss your payments, then there's really no foreclosure that takes place in a title theory state. By the directions of the escrow agreement, the bank could end up with the property. So the banks prefer title theory states compared to a lien theory state. It's an easier process for the bank to take the possession of the property. In a lien theory state like Pennsylvania, if you don't make your payments, the banks have to serve notice, then they have to start a foreclosure, and then they can go to an auction to try to recuperate their loan. Also understand, ladies and gentlemen, that the bank doesn't want your property. They're not out to steal your property, and the government's not out to steal your property. Neither of them want your property. Both of them want the scratch, the green, the money. All right. So when the bank does foreclose in a lien theory state like Pennsylvania, then the bank's not looking to end up with your property. That's ultimately not what they want. If they're auctioning off your property, then they're trying to auction off the property to get their loan back. The bank is not in the real estate business. They're in the money lending business. They're in the money business. And so they make their money off of money. And what they want is their money back so they can lend it again and make more what we call loan origination fees, discount points, and sometimes interest if they are servicing the loan. That is more that you will learn in my class between what the bank does, what they charge, the difference between a conventional loan and FHA loan, which is insured loan, 30%, a VA loan, which is a guaranteed loan, 40%. Who lends money? Does the government lend money? Does the bank lend money? All these things you will learn in my class so that you can be a very good real estate agent and help buyers. Let's see, some buyers might qualify conventional. Some buyers might qualify FHA. Some buyers might qualify VA with their certificate of eligibility. So we talk about these things in my class. This is why it's a 75-hour class, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to be able to give you all the real estate knowledge that you need in a 1-hour live streaming class. But that's not possible because Rome wasn't built in a day. And so the state requires you to take my class or a licensed school class where that school is certified and registered by the state to teach this class so that you have the knowledge and the confidence that you need to go on to run a real estate business and help others. So lien theory, title theory. Pennsylvania is a lien theory state, which means the bank only has a lien against the property. And now let's talk about what we're selling and buying in this business. We talk about the bundle of legal rights. And that's really one of the first chapters in the book. One of the first things I teach you is the bundle of legal rights. And it really starts with the deed, the deed, the deed. The deed will have in it many things: liens, judgments, rights, easements, encroachments, so forth. And so we'll talk about many of those things, providing I have the time to do so. But let's talk about deed and rights. When we buy property, sometimes we're buying property by deed, which means we get the deed to the property. We have fee simple ownership rights, the highest form of ownership you can have, fee simple. And we have the right to do what we want with that property. We can sell it. We can mortgage it. We could rent it out. We could give it away. We can will it. So fee simple, when we have the deed, we have the legal right to do what we want legally within the scope of the law. We can't do things illegally. We'll talk about that as well. But we don't always buy property by deed. Sometimes we buy property by rights. For instance, a timeshare. You don't get the deed to a property in a timeshare. What you're buying is a right to use that property for a given amount of time. Maybe 1 week out of the year, or 2 weeks out of the year, or maybe 1 week every other year. So a timeshare, when you buy a timeshare, yes, you're buying real estate, but you're not buying the deed to the property. You're buying the right to use the property. And so we talk about like a campground membership, all right? You're buying not the campground, but the right to use space in that campground. So we sell property by deed and we sell property by rights. And so these are the things that you'll also learn in my class, the difference between a deeded property and the rights to that property. And we'll talk about other things like a legal property and illegal property. You see many properties that are used as a multifamily property. Maybe they're renting out the basement, maybe they're renting out the first floor, and maybe they're renting out the second floor with a bedroom or two upstairs. But it's really zoned as a single family property being used illegally as a multifamily property. Now, I always give this away in my class. I always say to my students, you're now a licensed real estate agent. You're walking in the property with your potential buyer who's looking to buy a multifamily property. How do you know when you're in that property if this is a legal multifamily property or it's an illegal multifamily property? All right. So I talk about this in my class. It's a few things that are easily given away when you're walking through the property. Now, at this point, I could keep you hanging and say, come to my class, and I'll give you that answer. But I'm not going to do that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you the answer right now. If you're walking through the property with your client who's looking to buy a multifamily property, and you're in the basement and you see only one water heater, not two or three, then that's first indication that this is a single family property and not a multifamily property. When you go to the back of the property and you see one electric meter and not two or three, then there's your other indication that this is a single family property. It's not a multi-family property. So these are just some of the little keys that I'll give you in my class. I'll give you lots of tips and tricks in my class that will make you a better real estate agent, not to take advantage of anybody. That's not what my class is about. My class is about compliance, understanding what you can legally do and can't do, and everything has to comply with the rules, regulations, and the ethics of the business. That's why I said at the very beginning of my show that this is a great start, a great platform for you to learn real estate, because all the things that I teach you in my class are compliant with state requirements. What you need to know to be performing your business legally, ethically, and in compliance with the rules and regulation. So you're sure that you're doing everything right. So now you know that you're looking at an illegal property. It's a single family property being used as a multifamily property. Here's another indicator that you could always look for: the thermostat. There's only a thermostat in the living room. How's anybody on the second floor, how's anybody in the basement going to be able to control their environment, their elements? Not to mention, we only got one hot water tank, so one of our tenants is probably going to be getting a cold shower. Our tenant upstairs might be always sweltering. The person that has the thermostat in the first floor is fine, and the people that are in the basement are always freezing. So this is an illegal property being used. It's a single family property being used as a multifamily property. So there's an indicator, 3 indicators that I just gave you right there. Now, again, as I said, the deed. Everything starts right there. And so when I teach you real estate, because a lot of people want to be real estate investors. And when they become real estate investors, they like to do numbers. They like to imagine what they're going to do with the property, but they always miss the crucial starting point: the deed. Is the person who's selling this property the legal owner of the property? Is the person who's selling this property have any liens in judgment? Now, this might sound like it's almost common sense, but you'll be surprised, especially when you go and buy auction property. You're buying a property at a foreclosure sale, or a tax sale, or maybe a treasury sale where confiscated property is now being sold. So you better understand the variables of a title search before you make any bids on that property, because in some parts, like Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and Pittsburgh, junior liens and utility liens are not wiped out at the auction. They'll run with the sale. For instance, if you're buying a property in Philadelphia and it has a $10,000 water bill on the property, it has a $2,000 gas bill on the property, then when you buy this property at the auction, you're also buying those liens against the property as well. They don't get wiped out in Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and Pittsburgh. But in the counties, Allegheny County, Warren County, Bucks County, Montgomery County, in the counties, these junior liens and utility liens are wiped out at auction. Some auctions, not all auctions. Remember I said I just gave you 3 variable auctions: a tax sale auction, a foreclosure auction, and maybe a property confiscation auction. All right, just 3 examples. There's many more auctions. So when you want to be an investor and you're buying property at auction, you better know what you're doing, or you can end up losing a lot of money and end up with no real estate at all because you didn't understand the deed. So this is usually my starting point. Now, let's talk about a lien and a judgment. Anytime you hear the word lien and you see liens on the deed, then it means you owe somebody money. A lien means you owe somebody money. Remember the mortgage? You got a 30-year mortgage on that property? Well, the bank is not going to give you a mortgage unless they can place the first lien against the property. We'll talk about lien priority. Who comes first? Who comes second? Who comes third? We'll talk about that in my class. So lien priority. The bank is not going to give you a mortgage to buy the property unless the deed is completely clear of any other liens and judgments, so that the bank can place and record their lien, their mortgage against your property first. The bank wants first right to foreclose on you should you default on your payment. They don't want anybody else in front of them. There is one entity, however, that does trump the banks, and that's known as taxes, the government. So taxes beat the bank. So when it comes to lien priority, who recorded first? It will be the bank, because taxes are not recorded against the property until after delinquent. But if we go to auction, let's just say that we're going to auction, you owe the bank $100,000 and we owe $10,000 in taxes, back taxes as well. Just an example. And the property sells for $100,000 at auction. Well, the first $10,000 goes to the taxes. Then the bank will get what's left of the highest bid at auction. So even though the bank wants first lien position, they want to be able to foreclose on you first, taxes do trump the bank in lien position. So remember, a lien means you owe somebody money, and that person or entity that you owe money to might have legal right to record that lien against the deed. Let's just say child support can be placed against the lien, mechanics lien, where you had a contractor come and put in a new kitchen and a new bathroom in the house and you didn't pay that contractor. That contractor might have a right to place a mechanics lien against your property. And there are other liens like the mortgage lien. So these liens are monetary. You owe somebody money, and these liens would have to be cleared when you go to sell the property before the buyer can record their mortgage against the property. Now let me ask you this question, since this is really a class that we're taking here. Liens against the property. I want to sell my property for $200,000. It's compatible to other properties that have sold in my neighborhood for $200,000. So I believe I can get $200,000 for my property based on the compatible sales. But I owe the bank $100,000 already. I borrowed $100,000 probably 7 years ago, 10 years ago. But now I want to sell my property for $200,000. Can I? Can I sell this property even though I got a $100,000 lien against it? Once again, things that you will learn in my class. But since this is a class that I invited you to, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is yes. You can sell that property. So what? You have a lien against it. That lien would have to be settled at the settlement table. So if I'm selling my property for $200,000 and I still owe $100,000, then at the settlement table, $100,000 of my $200,000 will go to the bank to pay off the lien, and the remaining $100,000 will come to me to use for another property or as I see fit. All right, so again, just because you have a lien against the property does not mean you cannot transfer or sell the property, but you do have to clear the lien before transferring the property. Now, there's always the cash deal, ladies and gentlemen, because I talked to you about the mortgage deals, the conventional loan, the FHA loan, and the VA loan. But there are times, especially with people who are selling their property in New York and exiting New York to come to Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Florida, then they're buying property cash or putting a large chunk of cash down on financing. So we do have cash buyers, ladies and gentlemen, and things kind of change when there's no bank involved, there's no mortgage to record, there's no lien because they're buying the property cash. But if you're buying a property cash, you certainly don't want to be buying a property that might still have liens and judgments against them, because once you accept that deed, remember offer and acceptance, and there are liens or judgments against the deed and you accept the deed, well, you accept those liens and judgment. It becomes your lien, your judgment. So this is why we always want to do a title search to make sure there's no liens and judgment. What is a judgment? Well, a judgment means you had your day in court and you lost. And so now, because you could not pay the judgment right then and there, then to back up the judgment, they're going to place a lien against the property. And in this situation, a judgment for monetary amount because you had your day in court and you lost. So now we need to clear that judgment and that lien, hopefully with the proceeds of the property, before the new buyer takes possession of the property. So again, let's recap what you've learned so far. The difference between a mortgage and a deed, the difference between title and deed, the difference between title theory and lien theory, and the difference between deeds and rights. Like a timeshare, you buy the rights, but you don't get a deed to the property. And so just an example. So there's some of the things that you're going to learn in my class and some of the things that you've already learned in my free class. So understand, ladies and gentlemen, that there's much to be learned in real estate, because what I've just given you is some of the foundation. Remember I told you that the bank, the lender, wants the buyer to have many layers of insurance before they'll give them the loan? Well, some of those insurance are homeowners insurance, also known as hazard insurance. And we'll talk about the type of homeowners insurance in my class. HO1, HO2, HO4. I'm a little leery on the HO3. We'll talk about that. But basically what we're going to be dealing with, the Real Estate Commission wants you to understand the HO1, which is known as the basic homeowners insurance policy, the HO2, which is known as the broad insurance policy, and the HO4, which is really known as renter's insurance and condominium insurance. So, and we'll talk about the difference between a house, a condominium, multifamily property. There's a good point right there, ladies and gentlemen. Your real estate license will allow you to do residential sales and commercial sales. You don't need a separate license to do each. One real estate license by the state, the Real Estate Commission, allows you to represent both residential 1 to 4 units and commercial property 5 units and above. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Real estate has its own language. You know how doctors have their language, attorneys have their language, police officers have their language. Well, in real estate, we have our language, our lingo as well. And so in my class, you're going to need to learn some of the real estate language that is interpreted in the real estate business so that you understand it. There's always a common misconception with several things. One of the big things is the difference between earnest money and deposit. And this one here, I would say 90% of the market does not understand the difference between earnest money and deposit. And it does blow me away. I see a lot of people say EMD, earnest money deposit. Well, I could tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, you won't see earnest money on our contracts here in Pennsylvania, our PAR forms. You're going to see deposit, but you won't see earnest money. And you're certainly not going to see earnest money deposit, because earnest money is one thing and deposits is another thing. They're separate. They're not the same. Just like salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. But we don't have pepper. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't exist. Yet we want to call earnest money deposit one thing when it's not. It's two things. Just like offer and acceptance are two stages of the contract. So again, as I said, earnest money deposit. I'll certainly get into that in the classroom. I'm not going to get into it right now. But understand, earnest money is really between the lender and the borrower, but deposit is between the buyer and the seller. And when we deal with our agreement of sale, we deal with deposits. We don't deal with earnest money. That is financial terms, that is bank terms, a trigger term as well. And so a lot of agents make a mistake when they use the word earnest money deposit. They're using a financial term in the real estate business that could be a trigger term, and they hope and pray they don't use it in any of their advertisement, because that would be a RESPA violation. We'll talk about the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. We'll talk about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, what president was involved when it was invoked originally, and what president was involved when there were 35 amendments made to it, and why we're under that now, why the banks are under the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and real estate agents are under the Housing and Urban Development, HUD, CFPB, and HUD. We do a lot of initials and a lot of acronyms in this business as well. So when you come to my class, I teach you how to separate our acronyms and our initials so that it makes it easy for the exam. So in my class, ladies and gentlemen, not only am I going to teach you how to pass the real estate exam, and that's what I just was doing by giving you some of the foundations and the fundamentals that you need to know, but I'm also going to teach you how to run a real estate business. And when it comes to running a real estate business, that's really the practice. Remember I told you you got to take 2 exams, real estate fundamentals, knowing all the caveats and the law and the deeds and the legal rights, and the practice of real estate, representing others, taking them out, making offers, negotiating for them. So if you don't know how to run a real estate business, then the practice portion of the class requirement would kind of go in vain. So I've learned to incorporate the practice by incorporating a real live business structure that you're actually going to go through, and I'm going to take you through court cases when you make a mistake, to real live events. So I'll teach you how to run a real estate business in the practice portion of the state requirement that you have to take. 75 hours, 45 hours for one, 30 hours for the other. So real estate fundamentals is basically the caveats of what you need to know, the legal stuff, the rights, and so forth. But the practice of real estate is a little bit different. This is where you are representing. This is where you are now charging for your services. And because you have that real estate license, you are now allowed to charge. But understand that you will not start off as your own business. You will start out under a broker or an employee that is licensed as a broker in real estate. It doesn't always have to be a brokerage, all right? We have legal departments that have broker's license. We have tax departments that have real estate and broker's department. We have franchises and Fortune 500 companies that have brokerage departments for their individual needs. And under that brokerage department, you will work. In the state of Pennsylvania, you have to be licensed for 3 years, and you have to be under the guidance of a broker. Remember I said I spoke to a broker earlier this week who's trying to help women and minority women get into the business? Well, that broker's job is to make sure that these ladies understand exactly what they need to know to run a successful real estate business, to represent others, and to charge a fee for their services. Without the real estate license, none of that would be possible. You would not be allowed to represent anybody in real estate without the real estate license, nor would you be allowed to charge for your services. And we will talk about how you cannot do anything in this business for free. We'll talk about the 3 ingredients that you need for a contract: dates, signature, and consideration. And minus consideration, we don't have a legal contract. You ever see a property transfer hands for $1? Well, that $1 made it a legal transaction because it had the 3 ingredients that a contract in Pennsylvania needs: dates, signatures, and consideration. So we'll talk about you charging for your services and how to disclose your fees. Right now, the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and the National Association of Realtors are in court over a battle of seller fees, buyer fees, and the disclosure of those fees. And so when things go a little slim shady and agents try to do things, let's just say, non-disclosured, then people find it's a little confusing and they might feel that they've been harmed in the same transaction. I don't agree on the court case and the merits of the case, because the case is talking about the sellers not splitting a commission in the MOS, where the buyer would have to pay their own fee. And I believe that would benefit the banks, but I don't believe it's going to benefit the buyers or the real estate industry. And I'm a little surprised that some in the real estate arena are actually arguing against their own position. The geniusness of it sometimes just blows me away. However, it always comes back to disclosure. If everything was properly disclosed and everybody understood exactly how fees were being paid, then it would be fine. Listen, we don't work for free, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever gave you the impression that we work for free? Don't you have bills to pay? Don't you have food to put on the table? This isn't charity. I don't even understand why people might think that you're supposed to work for free. So we charge for our services, but we have to disclose our fees so that the buyer and the seller understand what they're paying for and what they can expect to receive. We'll talk about forms like the consumer notice, which explains agency. What is agency? Something that always escapes my students' brain, but I made a way of making it easy to remember the word agency and what agency is. But the consumer notice, one of the very first forms that we have to give everyone in the real estate business, explains agency. The second form that we work with in the real estate business is our business relationship agreement. We always work with an employment contract, ladies and gentlemen. If the seller wants me to help them sell their property, then they're hiring me to under an employment contract to work for them, the seller, to sell their property. So they gave me what's called a listing agreement in the real estate business, and this listing agreement is an employment contract between me, the agent, my broker, because I represent the broker. I am a broker of record, so I'm used to saying me because I'm the broker of record. But between the brokerage and the seller, there's an employment contract. And the agent who represents the brokerage will do most, if not all, of the work. And so the employment contract, which is known as a listing agreement, is between the seller and the broker. The buyer agency agreement is also an employment contract. And that buyer agency agreement is between the brokerage and the buyer. And the buyer's expecting you to help them to find the perfect property. The property that meets all their search criteria, that's in their price range, in their search area, and the property that they were looking and dreaming of. And they're also expecting you to help them negotiate and jump the hurdles, the obstacles that will be involved from the very beginning to last stage to making an offer, to making a settlement on this property. So that's where the practice, real estate fundamentals and real estate practice, comes into play, with you representing, you charging for your services. This is you running a real estate business. So in my school, my classes, I literally take my students right through the process, hands-on, to demonstrate, to show you exactly the first rung on the ladder, the second rung on the ladder, the third rung, the fourth rung, straight on up that ladder until you get to the very top. But if you try to jump to the third or fourth rung without taking the first two, you're going to slip and fall. And I'll bet you it'll hurt. All right? So again, as I said, that would be a childish decision to try to get to the top of the ladder without taking it one step at a time. A child always tries to get to the top quick, always looking for those shortcuts. But as we get older and wiser, air quotes, we're supposed to know that we should take it one step at a time. All right, so that's the way that this works, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's talk about you. When you take this class, your ultimate goal is to become a licensed real estate professional in the state of Pennsylvania. What an honor, what a blessing. So one of the very first things that you get out of this class is the right to sit for the state exam, and the knowledge and the confidence that I'm going to give you that you're going to pass the exam. And so once you pass that state exam, then you are a licensed real estate professional in the state of Pennsylvania. Once again, as I said, you can't run your own business just yet. You have to work for a brokerage or an employee that has a brokerage license, and you must work for that broker or any broker, as many brokers as you want as you go along, because it could be 3 depending on your independent contractor's agreement with that broker or that employee, or your employment contract. So remember I said you had an employment contract with the buyer and an employment contract with the seller, the brokerage does? Well, you individually will have an employment contract with the broker or an employment contract with the employee as well. And that contract is usually for about a year. It could be longer, could be 2 or 3. Be careful what you sign. I'll teach you how to negotiate with the broker and the commission split and so forth. So we'll talk about this, but your job, your goal of taking this class and getting a real estate license is to be running your own real estate business. So what you want, and you're going to be, for the most part, an independent contractor. You could be an employee as well, but you probably want to start off as an independent contractor, and you're going to be under a brokerage. And what the brokerage is there to do is to give you a platform so that you can take your real estate business and skyrocket it, get it off to a nice start. So the brokerage is supposed to be there to give you a platform for your real estate business. Plus, they're also supposed to be there to guide you in the transaction as oversight to make sure that you're doing everything legally and compliantly so that you may offer the best services to the brokerage's clients. So it's a nice little system that's been developed for a long, long time, and it works very well, providing that the brokerage and the broker is a good starting point. It's not always the case, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you why. Because in this real estate arena, you have to be a real estate agent for 3 years. And after 3 years, you can go for your broker's license, which means you'll be now known as an associate broker. Unless you want to open up your own real estate office, then you'll be broker of record. But as a broker of record, and you just opened up your own real estate business, but you only been a licensed agent for 3 years, you might not know how to run a small business. And if you don't have the knowledge of running a small business, then you might not be a very good broker. And if you're working for a not so good broker, that could be detrimental to your real estate career as well. So we talk about all these things in my class. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, my hour is already up. And there's so much more I want to talk to you about. So much more that I didn't touch yet. So many more opportunities and advancements for you to enjoy. But an hour is an hour. And so, I didn't even get to run the second commercial. So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's how quick this class goes. And so my 75-hour class, here's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you a quick rundown. Our next class is March 1st. And I'm going to encourage you not to give up on your dreams and make the investment in yourself. It's $299 for real estate practice. And it's $299 for real estate fundamentals. And you don't have to pay the $598 up front. You could do the $299, do your 4-week class, and then the following month, we take a week off, the following month, $299 for the second. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. I run my class Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I have a morning class, which is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. 9 to 1, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we do have a half-hour break at 11 to 11:30. So we run a class in the morning, 9 to 1, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that would be for 4 weeks for real estate practice, 4 weeks real estate fundamentals, and I run an evening class as well, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays as well, 6 to 10, and we take a break from 8 to 8:30. So it's really a 3.5 hour class, not a 4 hour class, because I am required with a 4 hour class to give you a break. And so it's a 3.5 hour class, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and it goes fast, ladies and gentlemen. The 4 weeks go fast, the 8 weeks go fast, and before you know it, you're taking the state exam, and you're like, I really enjoyed this class. I'm really sad to see that it's over already. Parting is such sweet sorrow. I'm going to teach you so much in my class. It's going to leave such an impression upon your mind, and it's going to advance you for many, many years to come. I can't wait to see what you're going to develop into a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. But it all starts from getting out of that crawling position to getting into that walk-in position, to get over your fears of falling, to get over your fears of taking a class, to get over your fears of testing, to get over your fears of failing, to get over your fears of making excuses as to why you can't progress. It all starts right there, ladies and gentlemen. Take the $299 investment. Invest in yourself. Take a leap of faith. It's only $299. I'm sure you spent more than that on consumer products, ladies and gentlemen. You probably spent more than that in a casino in an hour. And what did you have to show for it? So invest in yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Take my class. My next class starts March 1st. Morning class 9 to 1. Evening class 6 to 10. Make some time for yourself. Advance yourself. Stop making the excuses. Stop procrastinating. Stop being afraid to fall. It's okay to fall. Just get back up and start walking again. And wait till you see how much life is going to be so much better for you because you stopped making excuses and you made a decision. You made a decision that's going to change your life, ladies and gentlemen. It changed my life 30 years ago. And I've never looked back. And to this day, I get to pay it forward. I teach contracts, I teach pre-licensing, I teach other things. I teach financing. I have many businesses. I have two real estate brokerage business. I'm starting a mortgage business. I have a school. I have a landscaping company, a carpet cleaning company, exterminating business. I have many different businesses. That's the thing between all of us that's right here, right now. We all have that entrepreneur blood running through our veins. We all want to be better. We all know that we can be so much more. Not everybody here. Not everybody's here in this class right now because not everybody wants to be an overachiever. Many people set their goals and their sights too low. I just want to stay in my comfort zone. I don't want to do anything that's going to require anything that resembles work. I don't want to do any of that. So a lot of people set their standards and their sights low. But if you're in this class right now and you join my class, then you're an overachiever. Then you're an entrepreneur. You got a different blood pumping through your veins. And these are the individuals that I get to see in my class, those who want to learn, those who want to have an extra form of income, those that want to be smart and not rely on somebody else to put food on the table and pay the bills. They don't want to be at the mercy of somebody else. And we've seen what being at the mercy of somebody else, especially in these last couple of years, has done to your ego and to your ability to provide for your family. You don't want to be at that risk, ladies and gentlemen. So take this leap of faith. Get this real estate license. Again, as I said, the real estate license is a golden ticket. Once you have this golden ticket, you'll never be broke. You'll never be unemployed. Wait till you see all the opportunities that will come your way. Wait till you see all the doors that will open for you as you go through life, all starting with getting this real estate license. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, every Monday at 6 p.m., I'm here one way or another to give you this free class, and I hope that the class is fundamentally motivational for you and productive to guide you into a more positive direction. I always like to give a shout out to my producer, Vernon. Vernon with the Gish Group. Vernon, throw up your information. Thank you, Vernon. So if you're looking for a producer to produce a podcast, a live streaming show, a wedding, some kind of an event, then Vernon Gish at the Gish Group is somebody that I would always recommend, ladies and gentlemen. You can reach Vernon at info@gishgroup.com. If you'd like to sign up for my class, then I recommend that you go to my website, onlinerealestateschoolinc.com. onlinerealestateschoolinc.com. All my classes are live streaming classes. We're not going to be doing any in-person classes for quite a while. I hope never to go back to in-person classes, to be honest with you. I am at the mercy of the state and the state requirements, but I hope to never go back to in-person. I like the live streaming classes. If somebody sneezes, somebody coughs, it could be a disruptor. I had 2 students in my previous class that had COVID during the class, so that would have been a disruptor. And it's also a liability as well. For me, so I love these live streaming. All my classes have been on Zoom. You've already heard from the reviews from my students. They love the platform, and I think you will as well, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to encourage you to take the leap of faith, stop crawling, start walking, and I hope to see you in my class March 1st, and I'm looking forward to making you a licensed real estate professional in 2022, and I hope to see you next Monday right here on my live streaming show at 6 p.m. Be safe, be healthy, be happy, God willing. I'll see everybody next Monday and hope to see you in my class.